Okay, so we are doing our team training today. Usually we do our second and fourth Thursdays, but it's not always a hard, like that's not a hard, obviously it's a Wednesday today. So I wanted to kind of note that we do everything really collaboratively as a team, like all the leaders, we do collaborative trainings and business opportunities, etc. And so we all have really busy, full lives, as do you, which means that when we're trying to coordinate multiple schedules, it doesn't always land at 11 o'clock on a Thursday. So sometimes you're going to see stuff on a Wednesday or Friday or at the night or whatever, but we'll always try to give you enough time to plan. We always record. It's always going to be available if it doesn't fit into your time, like your availability that day. So don't sweat that. And then we usually do these trainings based off of the need of the collective. So all of the leaders meet the first Thursday of every month, and we kind of go through like what is like the pulse of the team, like the pulse of our team as a whole, of like what are people struggling with, what are people's questions, where can we like build up training around things. And we usually plan that out at the beginning of the month and then can announce the month's training. But sometimes, like this month, we are punting because when we had our meeting, we did not expect for all of this to happen. And so we're kind of like we're kind of building the wings as we fly here. So today's training is about pivoting, is about pivoting from maybe one messaging, one branding for our personal businesses to a new level, a new chapter, a new era. Like specifically for some people, how do I pivot from Beachbody to Hugh Grace? Or how do I pivot from fitness and weight loss to hormone health? And so bear with us today as we put a year of personal experiences into like what we're hoping to be a really tangible, helpful training. So, and this is by no means the only way of doing it, but we wanted to share a little bit of like a hormone health crash course so that you can even just like have some bite-sized nuggets and some basic competency. I say a lot, you probably roll your eyes. Jenny and Courtney are probably rolling their eyes. Competence raises confidence. And so we do try to offer a lot of opportunity to build that competence without having to be a hormone health expert so that you can feel really confident in sharing and talking and connecting people to Hugh and Grace. And so Jenny's going to do a little hormone health crash course. And you're going to learn a lot. So have a notebook out. And then we're also going to talk through, Courtney is going to talk through kind of how she's pivoted with her customers and how the messaging has shifted, what her inbox sounds like, just through a sales perspective. And then I'm going to talk through like social media messaging, and like pivoting that story online. So any thoughts or questions before we jump in? Does this sound good? Okay, Jenny, I'm going to mute and let you take it away.
All right. Well, hi, everybody. It's nice to meet you. If I haven't met you before, my name is Jenny Swisher. I'm a certified personal trainer, fitness nutrition specialist, and integrative health practitioner. I've been kind of deep in hormone health now for over a decade. Just when people ask me, like, how did you get into hormone health? I'm like, well, it was really unfortunately through my own struggles with chronic migraines, weight loss resistance, infertility, all the stuff. So I've really dedicated a lot of time and energy into learning hormone health and being able to teach that outward to other women so that they can serve other women. So I want to talk to you guys today just sort of about what we're calling hormone health 101. Like, what do we really need to understand about hormone health? Because I know a lot of you, like me, are coming from, health and wellness, probably in more in the realm of like fitness and nutrition. And it's like, okay, well, how do I pivot? Like, how do I pivot my brand and how do I start talking about hormone health? Well, for me personally, the way I see it is hormone health just allows us to serve and help people on a deeper level, to really be able to address more than exercise, for example, could ever address. So my personal story with this, I was with Body for almost 14 years, two-time elite coach. We owned a gym for 6.5 years. And in those years when I was teaching group fitness and personal training and doing all the things, I worked with both men and women in my gym. And for me to be the picture of health, it meant exercising 5 to 6 days a week, pretty intensely. It meant, drinking my shake. It meant, following different, meal plans and those types of things. And I really thought that health was simply just fitness and nutrition. Like I really thought like, this is it. Like if I dial in my diet, if I eat clean, if I exercise, like this is the way, right? Well, my body had other plans for me. And so in 2017, I started to suffer from, actually my first daughter was born in 2016. So a year later, after a full year of sleepless nights, she did not sleep through the night till she was a year old. My body kind of crashed on me, and I had what a lot of people refer to as adrenal burnout. Literally couldn't hold myself up in a warrior two pose for yoga. My body just literally was giving out. And so I thought I was the picture of health. If you would have seen a picture of me, you would have been like, wow, like, I mean, I had done all the things that I thought I should be doing. And so when I started to take a deeper dive, when I started to really work with functional practitioners and really start learning more about hormone health, I realized that on the outside, I looked really fit. But on the inside, I was really struggling from an endocrine perspective. My metabolic health was really suffering. My blood sugar was suffering. I found out, as I started to dive deeper, that I truly wasn't eating enough for my activity level, which now on the flip side, as I work with hundreds of women, this is a very common thing that I see. And whenever we do that, we kind of can disrupt blood sugar, we can disrupt cortisol, and that's exactly what was happening for me. So I'll talk about the four-legged chair here in a second, which will help you get an idea of what this means. But this was sort of my sign and my alarm system that was like, wait a minute, Jenny, you need to reconfigure. So I would love to say, like, I just figured it out one day and I flip-flopped my way of thinking and everything shifted. But really, it was a matter of time. It was a matter of learning. And now I like to say, when women understand the why, they can apply. And so my goal for you today is to really understand hormone health, maybe from a different lens than you've seen it before, so that you can turn around and maybe express the same type of messaging to the people who follow you. So at the end of the day, right, we have, you want to pull up the slides, Jamie? I don't see them. So oh, yeah, perfect. Yeah. So the four-legged chair is how I like to teach this. I like to teach in analogies. So hopefully this works for you. And I can't see you guys. So if you have questions, you can type them in the chat. But when we think about our endocrine system as a whole, we can think of it as a four-legged chair, just your regular old sturdy kitchen chair that has four legs, right? And those four legs represent your cortisol, which is your stress response. Cortisol is produced in your adrenal glands that sit above your kidneys. That's what's in charge of your fight or flight, run from a bear, Facebook notifications. Cortisol is affected. It's your stress hormone. Your thyroid represents another leg of the chair, right? I like to call the thyroid the thermostat of the body, right? Your thyroid is hugely important. The third leg of your chair is your blood sugar, right? Your insulin response. And the fourth leg of the chair is sex hormones. And so a lot of people, when they hear hormone health, they immediately think of sex hormones. We think about like estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, or we think about birth control, or we think about the things that we learned about when we were trying to conceive, or those types of things, right? Well, sex hormones are really just one leg of the chair. And as my good friend, Dr. Page likes to say, sex hormones are never the front bowling pin. So a lot of times women will start to see issues, whether that's PCOS or endometriosis or infertility, or for me, it was migraine headaches. They start to see these hormone imbalances in their sex hormones through menstrual cycle disruption, whether that's losing their period or constant periods or heavy periods or whatever. That's usually an alarm system for the body, but it's never the root cause, right? Like something else has affected those sex hormones down the line. So when we talk about these four legs of the chair, it's important to also mention, I know Kaylee, a member of our team, also talks about this in terms of the hierarchy, the hormone hierarchy. If we had to choose one of these to be the queen, it would be cortisol, right? And the reason for that is because your body prioritizes survival over everything else, even reproduction, right? And so if your body is being chased by a bear, all systems down, right? Like all systems are going to shut down, cortisol is going to kick in, adrenaline's going to kick in, and you're going to hopefully survive and outrun and thrive and move on from the bear, right? That's the whole idea. So a lot of people don't realize that the effects of stress, and even so far as to say perimenopause, which if I have time, I can touch on briefly, when stress starts to come into play. And by the way, stress is not just relationship stress. It's not just environmental endocrine disruption stress. It's not just, oh my gosh, my kids had me up all night stress, right? It can also be exercise. Exercise is also a stressor. For me, I thought I was doing all the right things, but then I learned later, actually, I could work smarter versus harder when it came to that. So cortisol is number one. It's kind of at the top of this hierarchy. It is queen, and it kind of streams down into the other legs of the chair. So if I was to ask you this question, If I was to ask you, what happens if I took a saw and I just sawed off 1 inch of just one leg of the chair? What would happen to the whole chair? If I just sawed off 1 inch of one leg, the whole chair would become wobbly, right? This is exactly why hormone health is very understudied for women. Because when that chair becomes to wobble, that's representative of your entire endocrine system becoming dysfunctional and out of balance, right? So we can start to see women, especially, have symptoms of something like low thyroid, but actually their blood sugar is root cause, right? Or cortisol could be root cause, like I said before, and sex hormones go out of whack. So symptoms can be all over the place, which really confuses a lot of doctors. And also, we just don't have a lot of research on women. We are starting to get research on women in the last decade. But this is all important to know, because this is why a lot of times when women enter their doctor's office, they're like, oh, we don't know, here's some birth control, or we don't know, here's an antidepressant, right? I just shared yesterday, only 3% of doctors are hormone health knowledgeable and have schooling on hormone health, and specifically perimenopause and menopause. And 54% of women will be handed an antidepressant in perimenopause. So we have this huge disconnect right now. And I don't want to dive too deep into perimenopause, but we have this huge disconnect between how to help women, I'll say in their hormone health, right? How to be able to help them with foundational principles so that they can help to just sturdy their chair. So the one thing that I want to, if you take nothing else from what I say today, I want you to come away with this phraseology, right? We as Hugh and Grace advocates are not in the realm of hormone balancing. Even as a health practitioner myself, I never say I'm going to help balance your hormones. What we are here to do is to educate and inform and to help people support their hormones, right? So write that down. We're not hormone balancing. We're not fixing anything. We are supporting our natural hormones. And we do that through supporting our cortisol, supporting our stress response, right? We do that through supporting our thyroid, supporting our blood sugar. 82% of hormone imbalances, the root cause is actually blood sugar instability. So regulating our blood sugar, eating enough protein, et cetera, like making sure that we're not riding the blood sugar roller coaster throughout the day will actually help us support our hormones. And then, of course, like I said before, sex hormones are never the front bowling pin. So when we do those things, when we focus on those fundamentals of hormone balance, that's when we can really, really start to feel what I call maximum energy. So let's touch on that really fast. If I have a second, I teach the 5 fundamentals of hormone balance. I want to teach it to you guys. This is like literally the Cliff's Notes version of it. But there are 5 fundamentals to hormone balance. And this is what I mean. When you hear me say these things, you'll realize how much deeper we're able to serve in hormone health because of these things, right? So in our fundamentals, we have sleep, we have proper supplementation, which in my mind is bio-individual supplementation for the average man or woman, right? So what works for me may not work for you. And I like to call that out. So bio-individual supplementation, sleep, nutrition, fitness, yep, it's still there. Fitness, exercise is still important, and managing our traumas. Now, if you really think about why those 5 fundamentals are those 5 fundamentals, it's because those are the 5 things that we have control over in our lives that can help us support our hormones, to help support that 4-legged chair. Yes, Britt says, can you say them again? So sleep, bio-individual supplementation, nutrition, proper nutrition, exercise, and managing our traumas. So all of those, right, those 5 things support our 4-legged chair. Okay, so I wanted to mention that. And I also promised if I have a second, I'll come back to something I want to mention about perimenopause, because I know a lot of us are over 30 and it's important to mention. So before I get there though, what I want to do is I've seen a lot of questions in the team page recently, and especially about our products, and coming from the world of Beachbody, especially, I know for me, I lead with nutritionals. I love our skincare. But I remember when I came on at Hugh and Grace, I was like, oh my gosh, am I going to become the girl that's like washing her face? Like, I don't know. Like, I'm very tomboy. Like, I'm not like skincare is, my 8-year-old would love to do that. But nutritionals and fitness is where I came from. Right. So I lead with nutritionals, but the coolest part about Hugh and Grace and what I'm seeing a year into this is that people might come in with me with nutritionals, but then they want to try the skincare and they trust the brand and they love the company. So then they want to try the household care. And then they're messaging me about when the shampoo and conditioner is coming out. And then they're messaging me about the cosmetics. So that's the cool thing about having all these different product verticals. But if you're like me and you've come from the world of maybe fitness and nutrition and you're wondering how to lead, I would consider just learning more, watching the formulator calls about our nutritionals. But I want to give you some pointers. Somebody just asked yesterday in the team page about Triple Boost. They were like, okay, well, I understand Triple Boost is awesome, but like, why is it hormone supportive? Remember, hormone supportive, not hormone balancing. So let's start with that. So I'm going to give you just a quick touch on each of these 4 nutritional products. You can take some notes if you want. You can use it in your social media when you're talking about things. But Triple Boost is my new favorite, obviously. We're calling it a protein delivery system. At Elevate conference, they made us raise our hands and promise that we would never call it a protein shake. So it's that you can find a protein shake anywhere, you guys. You can find a protein shake literally anywhere. And so this is not just a protein shake. In fact, it delivers 20 grams of protein, but it's got some awesome extra benefits as well. So the first thing that I want to mention to you is the reason why this is so hormone supportive is because of the protein, the branched chain amino acids, and the B12. So we're going to touch on all 3 of those. So first and foremost, it does have 20 grams of protein. Now, I am not a calorie counter. In fact, I tell women, please don't count calories. You shouldn't have to do math to eat. But when it comes to Triple Boost, like if you actually look at the nutrition label, to be able to get 20 grams of protein and only 3 grams of carbohydrate in a under 100 calorie supplement is, I don't mean, good luck finding that anywhere else. Like that's not going to happen, right? So you're getting 20 grams of protein. Now, why does that matter? Why is that hormone supportive? Most women in particular, and I teach women, so I'm sorry, this does apply to men too, I promise, but I always teach to women, so it sounds that way. But women especially are under eating protein. So the average woman is consuming 40 to 60 grams of protein per day. According to research, we need at least 1 gram per pound of ideal body weight. So let me ask you this question. Do you know a single woman who weighs 40 to 60 pounds? So most women are under eating protein. And to kind of come back to that 4-legged chair, when we're not eating enough protein, in the words of Dr. Gabrielle Lyon, we are not fulfilling the amino acids that our body needs for satiation and energy and function. So when we're under eating protein, right, we're putting ourselves on this blood sugar roller coaster where our body is really dependent on glucose or carbs for energy, which is then downstream affecting our hormones. Because like I said before, right, these things are never the front bowling pin. But if we're underfueling, and if we're specifically underfueling protein, these things can happen. When women come into my course and I teach the fact that like, you have to have protein and fat in order to make hormones. Like a lot of women don't understand that your hormones come from cholesterol. So if we are only eating 1 fat per day, like if I'm only allowed 1/4 of an avocado a day on my meal plan, or I'm only eating, 4 servings of protein per day, 20 grams or less, or 2 eggs at breakfast, I see that happening a lot. That's not enough protein to fuel your body. And it's not enough to keep that blood sugar stable. So we want your engine running like this all day long. We do not want highs and lows. So Triple Boost is just a great supplement. We're all busy, right? I love that you don't even have to blend it. You can just stir it in water really quick or use a frother. My kids love it, right? It's an easy source of protein for them as well. We call it their bluey shake. But yeah, so this is an easy way to get that extra just 20 grams of protein in your afternoon or in your morning or whatever. So it's got the protein component to it. Now, speaking of the protein, this is a full amino acid profile protein, which means branched chain amino acids. So you might have heard this in the fitness world, they call this BCAAs. If you come from Beachbody, the question that was asked yesterday was, how does this compare to Recover, Beachbody's Recover? Beachbody's Recover has full branched chain amino acids. Triple Boost has full branched chain amino acids. The reason I find Triple Boost far superior, there's multiple reasons, but the main reason is because the Canadian pea protein that is in Triple Boost, because of how it's harvested, because it's organically farmed, because of how that pea protein is sourced, it is much more highly digestible than the pea protein that is in the Beachbody Recover. A lot of women will struggle with pea protein in their digestive system, but not with the Canadian pea protein version. So we're getting the 20 grams of protein. We're helping stabilize the blood sugar. We're also getting the BCAAs for those of you who are into exercise. Perfect. Those BCAAs are actually helping with muscle recovery. We know that women need more protein as they age. So 20 to 30 grams of protein within 30 minutes of exercise for the average cycling woman. For women in perimenopause and beyond, it's upwards of 40 grams. So sometimes we need supplements like this, or it makes life easier to have a supplement like this versus eating steak or chicken or whatever all the time. So, and then the third thing is the methylated B12. So if you've heard of genetic mutations, they do exist. The MTHFR Genetic mutation is one that comes up often in conversation. It affects 44% of people. Basically just means that your body is not able to metabolize vitamin B12 very well. And so you need a methylated form of B12 in order to really utilize that. So a lot of people, a lot of women especially, are kind of living with their check engine lights flashing on low energy. And when if they actually are working with a functional doctor and they do the testing and they find that they're low in B12, they take a look at their vitamin bottle and, oh, they're actually consuming cyanocobalamin, which is actually not methylated B12. So methylated B12 is what's in this from the Icelandic blue spirulina in triple boost. And it's the methylated version of B12, 210% of your daily value. So you're getting the natural energy through methylated form of B12. You're getting the 20 grams of protein. And you're also get to regulate blood sugar, and you're also getting the branched chain amino acids for muscle recovery. So in my mind, that's what makes that a hormone supportive supplement. It's my favorite. Okay, quickly, hydrate detox. Hydrate detox, also a favorite for me. I'm a watermelon girl. I call it a twofer. Okay, so I tell people it's called hydrate detox for a reason. It helps you hydrate and it helps you detox, right? So hydrate, it has all the essential electrolytes that you need to properly hydrate. People don't realize that, like, we don't just need enough water. You know, there's all these people out there with water goals and they're measuring their water and they got their water jug every day. That's awesome. But if you're not getting enough electrolytes, which a lot of people are using reverse osmosis systems or filtered water, you're not getting enough electrolytes in that water for your body to really be able to utilize that. And so we need things like magnesium, potassium, and sea salt, which are in hydrate detox, in order to properly fuel, correctly when it comes to hydration. So LMNT is a popular brand out there. A lot of people are consuming it. Guess what? Really high in sodium. This is better. Liquid IV is another product out there on the market. Very, very, very high in sugar. Sometimes they even use artificial sweeteners. No, thank you. Hydrate detox, way better. So then you've got the hydrate side, you've got the detox side, the twofer. The detox side of things, we have pre and probiotics in there. We also have glutathione, which is a powerful immune system support. It's also a great aid for liver detoxification. So you're getting both. You're really able to hydrate your body and help your body detox from those environmental toxins, our toxic load that you'll hear us talk about on a lot of the trainings here, because obviously Hugh and Grace is all about the swaps. It's all about endocrine disruption. So the more we can optimize our body to not only hydrate well, but detoxify well and excrete those toxins, the more we are supporting our hormones, not balancing, supporting. Okay, AM and PM supplements. The morning supplement is, I like to call it an anti-inflammatory. So the CoQ10, the curcumin in there, anti-inflammatory benefit. The PM supplement has both magnesium and L-theanine. I should say all humans are magnesium deficient. So we just don't have enough magnesium in our soils, and magnesium rescues hormones in a variety of ways. Too much for me to go into here. So a lot of people are not consuming a magnesium supplement. This is a perfect start to that. Some people do need to add magnesium to their supplementation, and that's fine, but this is a great start for most people. L-theanine is also in this product, and L-theanine boosts GABA production, which is your feel-good hormone. So this is kind of like an anti-anxiety, a calming, restful sleep building block without the melatonin type supplement. So it's not going to knock you out, but it's going to help you sleep and relax. And then the collagen, of course, our collagen is bar none. It is all three types. So you may have been used to more of a beauty type supplement. I know the collagen at Beachbody was mostly just beauty, like hair and nails. This is hair, nails, bone, joint, muscle, right? So we want to look at longevity. We want to look at how we can really support everything in the body. And so the fact that ours is all three types is really awesome. The other thing I like to point out is a lot of collagens on the market, things that you might find in Whole Foods, et cetera. I like to call them, they're like the hot dogs of collagen. If you look at the ingredients, there's literally like bone fragments and chicken flesh, and chicken bone beaks and things like, I don't know, like, no, thank you. Like, I would rather have a pure marine sourced collagen that has all three types like ours does. So that's just a quick touch on the supplements and just some little pointers for you guys. But I really think that understanding these things, diving deeper into the formulation, knowing how to talk about this stuff, right? You don't have to be the expert, but you can help people understand that these are much, much better options when it comes to supplementation. Now, the one thing I want to say is when I was talking about the 5 fundamentals, I talked about bio-individual supplementation. So I know that somebody out there is thinking, well, how does this factor in? This comes back to the idea of wanting to foundationally support our hormones. These are the things that most people are not doing from a foundational perspective. So even before Hugh and Grace came into my life, I was telling everybody they needed to be on magnesium, because magnesium is a basic fundamental supplement, right? So everyone should be doing that. Everyone should be looking at anti-inflammatory. Everybody should be looking at magnesium. Everybody should be looking. So there's kind of these things that affect everyone due to soil depletion, due to just supporting blood sugar. That's exactly what we're doing here. But then sometimes, obviously, women need to go deeper into that bio-individual supplementation for them and for their unique bodies. So I'm just sort of proactively answering that question in case you were wondering. So I love this as foundational hormone support. So I think I probably went over my time, but do you want me to touch on perimenopause, or do you want to do it at the end?
Let's go on the end, but I do want to set, I lost my train of thought. Oh my God. So if we don't end up having time, will you explain our Hormone Harmony event and the one coming up on Monday, and like also like how that functions in terms of how we educate our team and our client base?
Do you want me to cover that right now?
Yeah, just real
Yeah.
fast.
Okay, so we are going, I don't remember what time we set for Monday, but we are going to do a Hormone Harmony event on Monday. These are awesome events, and in the recordings I know are in the Google Sheet that of the ones we've done before, but these are great opportunities to tune into these and to learn on, different subjects. We try to cover a lot of different things where we are educating, this is what I love about Hugh and Grace. It's not just products to lead with, it's also just helping you understand what they are, what they can do for people, and also just understanding hormone health better. So you're expanding your own knowledge, but you're also able to then learn from that. Like I said before, when women know the why, they can apply. So Hormone Harmony events should go on your calendar. If not, like, check out the recordings. But I think that's an awesome feature that Jamie has brought into this team that is really an incredible opportunity.
Awesome, thanks. And so I think we said 8 p.m. on Monday night, and we will be, it's a really great opportunity to invite your customer base too, your prospects, your team, to educate, but it's a 15-20 minute masterclass webinar basically, so that people can come. You don't have to be the expert, like Jenny, Kaylee, myself, other leaders of the team. Like, we rotate through these based off of the topic and like just educate. So a lot of, and like bite-sized nuggets, because I know this can get really a lot really fast. It's so fun, but sometimes my brain wants to explode after some of this, because I'm like, oh, I want to learn it all. But that was awesome, Jenny, and we'll do Q&A at the end. Go ahead.
Yeah, really quick. I just saw where Allie asked a question. I wanted to hit on it really fast before we get to the end. She said, "How can you add how Triple Boost helps with menstrual cramps?" So anytime someone asks you about anything that is a symptom, the best thing to do is, like, remember, we are not curing or fixing or balancing hormones in in any way. We're supporting foundational principles of hormone health. So the long story short is Triple Boost does not help menstrual cramps, right? Or maybe it does for you, but I mean, you can't say that, right? That's a claim. So I would say point people in the direction of their doctor, but helping people understand, like, again, if they're dealing with menstrual cramps, like, this is my perspective as a practitioner. If they're dealing with menstrual cramps, as I have before as well, that's usually a sex hormone thing. What did we say? Sex hormones are never the front bowling pin. So a deeper dive on understanding those other legs of the hormone share for them are going to help them. Can't just say, like, oh, try this supplement as a solution to that. Does that make sense? So yeah, go ahead.
All right, Court, you want to jump in?
Okay. Yeah, I'm up, and I'm going to dive into sort of like the practical application. Jenny, I love learning from you because I am not the hormone expert. And I will say that, like, in first transitioning, I was a little intimidated maybe by the idea of hormone health, just because I needed some foundational learning. And so folks like Jenny and Kaylee and Jamie Pfeiffer and ChatGPT have been really helpful in helping me identify some things that I just really didn't know. But keeping in mind, we are not the experts. I am not trying to show up as a hormone expert on social media. I'm showing up as a 43-year-old mom, wife, and sharing these products and how they fit into my life. Again, I think for a lot of us, that's a very normal conversation. I think we're really used to sharing how products work really well for us, how they fill gaps in our life, how we've seen them fill gaps in other folks' lives, but also understanding just that, like, these are, for me, it was a more elevated conversation, right? It wasn't a path to like a specific endpoint. These are things that you pull into your life to support your health, to support how you feel. Again, using that support word, right? Because in terms of like balance or fixing, right? Like, I don't have the diagnostic tools to be able to determine that. What I can tell is how I feel, how my energy levels are. And for me, like my story about a year and a half ago, you know, I just was constantly feeling like crap. And I did go and have all the labs and all the blood work, right? And what was determined was that, you know, my adrenals were taxed and my cortisol was really high. And I was given a supplement routine that was like incredibly impossible to follow. It was like, take these on an empty stomach and these 20 minutes later, and these halfway through your day, and these with food and these without food, to the point where like you miss half of them because it was very difficult to follow. But what I realized was most of what they had given me to help heal my adrenals are everything that are in these products for the most part. Obviously, you could get much more, you know, like it's everybody's chemistry is different. So like, I'm not doing a one size fits all, but our products, like Jenny said, most people are nutrient deficient, right? We know most people are magnesium deficient. We know that most people are deficient in vitamin D, right? Especially in the Northern Hemisphere, but you can't really absorb D without magnesium. So I love the way all of our things work together and how you can share your story around your journey towards hormone support or your interest in non-toxic products and what that actually means. So like weaving in some educational pieces there opens up a door of conversation. So what I want to do today is just, I'm not going to dive too into the story pieces because I know Jamie's going to talk on that in a few slides. So I don't want to be super repetitive, but sharing your story and your journey to being interested in hormone health and non-toxic is very important. People are going to connect to that. I think we are in a world right now where that is a hot topic. That is something people are getting more curious about. So here you are, somebody that they know and trust on social media, and you are sharing about these products that you're using and that your whole family is using, right? Like you found a one-step solution for your whole family, which is hugely important because if you've ever stood in the aisle of Target and been very overwhelmed to pick out, you know, a cleaning solution or anything there, it's very hard to know. And then things are very greenwashed. So having a brand that I know has already been researched, has already been vetted, has the professionals there, the experts that have already determined like these are the things that are considered non-endocrine disrupting helps me. And then those that trust me are like, we trust you, right? Like those things you've never steered us wrong, always recommended things, and we've always loved them, right? So I get to share how I've transitioned my family towards non-toxic living without being 100% non-toxic. I'm very clear on that. Like, sure, I would love to move my family and life towards that, but we also know that that's not necessarily something that we can just cut off one day, right? Our world makes it very difficult for that to be a reality. So we can talk about the things that we're able to implement into our life and how we're doing them and weaving in the products that we have here. So we have a lot to offer. Obviously, we've got our three verticals. And you might be like, well, health is a natural transition if you're somebody that's coming over from Beachbody. I think for a lot of us that was. And honestly, for me, I didn't want to share the wellness supplements to start, only because I was a little bit burnt out on those conversations and I was trying to figure out how to navigate them differently. And so I leaned all in with the home vertical. And so probably my first like 30 customers bought the cleaning kit. Like that's what they all went all in on and they loved it. And I'm going to talk about this down the road in just a few minutes, but like sometimes it's just getting people to recognize and understand like what is a non-toxic hormone supportive product and like what might not be, and getting them very curious. Also, you guys are going to find that once you get customers that have one product and they see how beautiful they are and how elevated and how they smell and how quickly it showed up at their doorstep, they're going to want more because they're like, wow, that was quite the experience, right? Like I'm really curious now about something else. And so I started with the home care, and I talked about how like wiping down my surfaces or, you know, the bathroom or cleaning my floors, you know, my children with their naked feet, like running across floors, like thinking about that everything that goes on the skin is absorbed into the bloodstream. So the cleaning concentrate for me and understanding my market with a lot of, you know, folks with young children, that was something that really connected with them. And it's like, it's a little pieces. When I wrote about wiping down a high chair tray with a non-toxic cleaner versus like a Clorox wipe, that connected with folks. And they thought, I never really thought about what I was using to clean off the surface in which my child was putting, you know, puffs or whatever into their mouth immediately following. So sometimes it's just like really thinking about how you can illustrate for the person that's watching what it means to really use a hormone supportive, non-toxic non-endocrine disrupting, but non-endocrine disrupting wasn't really a word that I was using a ton, mostly because it was just kind of like, people were like, I don't know what that means, right? Like that was kind of like a word that wasn't in the vocabulary of my followers. So I had to introduce it and I had to define it and I had to share and help them illustrate what that actually looked like, right? But again, not being the hormone expert, I don't want to dive in too deep into this because that isn't really what my market comes to me for, right? I don't want to all of a sudden be the person that is recommending and sharing products to them. And then the next thing I'm like a hormone expert, right? I'm not, I don't have qualifications for that, but I am qualified to recommend products that will help you feel better, will help your family thrive. And so kind of weaving them in that way. I'm going to talk about, number 3 is what happens after the sale. Like once I'm going to talk about that in my next slide, actually, just because I have some illustrations of conversations and like the simplicity of them and like getting them to that checkout point. The funnel has been a little more simple for me, at least here. And then the other piece that I want to talk about is getting creative. So some of the things that have been really fun for me in coming over here and thinking about how I can get creative to helping my customers, my market really tap into giving these products a try is doing like 7-day samplers. And this is obviously something that's, an extra step, and you may not be somebody interested in doing this, but my market seems to be the kind of people that really like to sample things before they pay full price for them. My folks do not seem to have a problem spending $100, but they want to try it first. So I found that doing these 7-day samplers of Hydrate and Detox, like I order the bags and then I sort of shift them out. And I just bundle them up like this and I put them in a 4x6 mailer and I just stick them in the mailbox. And then I include in there a little like pamphlet that explains what Hydrate and Detox is, what it does. And this was part of the process, and where I had to this helped me really shift my conversations with folks too, because coming from, the space where they were used to joining me for like 7-day groups and the goal and objective being like there being a result at the end or like weight loss focused, this was really helpful for me because I would spell it out that this is the things that they should experience after 7 days. And so when they would come to me and say like, it was great, but like I didn't lose any weight, I would say, well, this isn't really a weight loss product. Sure. Can it support in your weight loss journey? Absolutely. Because we know that in order to get your body in a space in which it is going to release weight, it has to be a healthy environment for it, right? And so if you're mineral deficient, stress, if you aren't detoxing well, like all of those things can really wreak havoc on your body. So Hydrate and Detox can come in and do that. So that part of the creative part for me has been really great, but also that's the community piece for me because I don't really run groups per se, but there are times where I'll run those trials and I will bring people together to have these conversations around hormone support or our products or how they're feeling. And what's nice with that is that they get to connect with each other. So, all right, Jamie, let's go to the next slide here. I want to make sure I'm honoring time here. Okay, so I have a couple of examples I pulled just some conversations here and tried to find some different products of conversations, because like I said, I came in sharing the cleaning products and then the skin products and then the wellness. Like the wellness naturally got woven into there, right? Because I was using them. But those for me were going to take a little more time to be able to express how I really loved them. But the conversations, because on the front end, if you're sharing your story and you're really connecting and you're addressing like what the need is and how this fills a gap for you, I'm finding that, the conversations really organically find themselves to, okay, tell me more. Like I want to hear more. Now, the caveat to this should also be that I also do have a large following. I've been building on social media for 12 years. So like if you're posting things and you're not quite getting those responses, that's okay, guys. It's just stay consistent with it. You will. But I wanted to use that as a caveat because I've obviously been here showing up for a while, right? So I've got an engaged audience. But here what I try to do is I don't just try to solve their problem. I just try to tell them what the product does do. So, like the one person reached out, they were suffering with bloating, tracking their food and all these things. And so I just answer her, relate to how she's feeling, but our supplements are designed to help with general wellness and help with hormone shifts to create balance. Hydrate, and then again, this was months ago, so support. Hydrate and Detox is for hydration and detoxing your liver. A lot of times women are dehydrated and that can impact bloating and other things. The probiotics in there are great too. And then I give a little bit about AM and PM supplements. I include my link, and then they can go in and they can shop. I find that when they come to me and I just answer what they want. I'm not trying to upsell them on something else. I'm just answering their questions, right? They came in, they wanted help with bloating. I'm telling them exactly what we offer that would help them with that, and reprogramming my brain around needing to like make it a bundle or a package. It's, you came in for home care, I want to connect you to home care, right? Like but what you'll, and Jenny touched on this too, what happens is they get curious, and so they find their way there and they might add something else, or they always come back. Our customers are really, really loyal and always come back for more. I also like the skincare stuff, do a lot of that in my stories, like just my nighttime routine, or I'll do some reels and they'll ask about our skincare. And I just, again, knowing my customers in my market, they know I used Beauty Counter for a really long time until it just really stopped working, and understanding that as we age, our skin changes, right? So we need more hydration. So I'm relating that and sharing how our skincare products do that, and share the link. And listen, not everybody purchases on these first conversations. And this is where the invite process, and you guys understand this, is always come back and follow up and circle back, right? And see what other questions you could answer. And then, the other thing is talking about non-toxic. So when they ask me, like, I'm overwhelmed to where to start, like, just give them, like, ask them questions like, well, what seems like the most simplistic swap for you, right? Is it are you looking to swap for your whole family? Are you looking for something specific for you, right? And so from there, you can kind of gear where recommendations are that you give. And so then you cater them towards that, right? So you get them on your site, they get curious, and they're able to kind of pick out what they like. Okay, next slide, Jamie. And again, the meeting where they're at for me has been such a joy in this business, because they came to me for something, I'm answering that specific question. I'm helping them connect to that. Like, we're staying focused on the thing that they asked about. And then we can sort of build from there. So for some people, the whole routine might be a really overwhelming place to start. So it's like, well, let's start with one piece. And then again, usually next month, they're ready to order another bag of Hydrate Detox, and they want to add on the AM or the PM supplement, right? Some people want to do it all at once, and that's fine too. But just that being able to let go of it having to be like, it has to be a bundle. I'm just listening, and I'm just connecting people to what it is that fills their need. What did they come to me for, and how am I connecting them to that?
That's your last slide, right?
Yeah, I think that is. I think you go into story here, so I didn't want to go too deep on that.
Okay. I'm just gonna stop sharing for a minute. Hi. So let's take a breath, because like this is a lot. And so I am gonna still do my slides, but I'm second guessing myself right now. So I just want to take a minute and just acknowledge that, like, and one thing Courtney and Jenny and I were talking about, and so what I want to acknowledge before this training was, like, we had a lot of lead time to make this pivot for ourselves. So this was stuff we chose to walk away without that decision being made for us, right? Like, now I know a lot of people probably were feeling that lack of alignment, that struggle, maybe feeling like things were off. You weren't as, but we all have our own story with how you've been feeling in your Beachbody business. Is anyone not Beachbody? Like, put in the chat, just so I feel like we all are. So I'm going to just speak candidly. And so, like, just know that, like, this is just the peeling back the layers of the onion of, like, how you can find your message here, and know that, like, we got to this place because we were actively seeking something different, because we were not feeling like aligned or helpful in the space that we're in, or where we wanted to be. So I think my takeaway from this for all of us is, like, we get to start fresh. You get to, like, wipe the slate clean and get to be a beginner again and get to be new again. And sometimes that can be overwhelming and a little hard, and we kind of get lost in the sauce there. And so one of the things we really all individually did, and that's kind of how these trainings started, where we would have one topic and 5 of us would share how we were approaching that topic, because we all 5 did it differently. And there was beauty in that, because we were all 5 being successful, or if there were 4 leaders or 10 leaders, like, you get to find your way here. So, like, Courtney really launched into the info group. I had an info group too. Mine was more sciencey based. Hers was not as sciencey based, because that's not, like, where she wants to lean. We've got people that really jumped into home parties. Courtney was the one who initiated the trial kits. It took me 9 months to do a trial kit because going to the post office is a pain in my ass. Like there's and she converts amazingly. Like, I don't know, like 75-80% off your trial kits or something like that.
It's usually 50%. Like
50%. It's still pretty great. Yeah. And so, but some people really haven't had success with trial kits. I try, mine's hit or miss. I'm not converting very well, but I also am not remembering to follow up. So that's a me issue. We've got people that are just going straight to their DMs. Jamie Pfeiffer spent a month without a single post on social media, just messaging people, voice memos, and getting on phone calls. We've got people who've done a book club. Amy Coppola and Kaylee did a book club, which was amazing. We've got people doing attraction marketing and having a great success there. Now, we also have people that have really led into the science and hormone health. We have people I actually am similar to Courtney. I just needed a break from health and wellness supplements for a minute, and I really was excited about the cleaning products. And then we've got people that have really jumped into just the world of non-toxic, right? Let's just talk about the toxins in our products, and that's been their niche versus the hormone niche. And then we've got people that have just really resonated with clean beauty. And then there's all this space in between. So there's no one path. It's the path that's going to make you excited and the path that's going to feel most naturally coming out of your mouth, right? So for me, I'd already been talking about parabens and phthalates in air fresheners, and I'd already been talking about that stuff for a long time, so that was naturally what I grabbed hold of. And thanks to Jenny last year, just through her sync course, I learned a ton about my own, where I was struggling in my health. I was able just to figure out root cause, and so I do have my own hormone health story, and ultimately ended up being diagnosed with Addison's, which is an adrenal dysfunction. And I don't even make cortisol, but took time. That took years of me working with a functional medicine doctor. And honestly, I like having to go off all of my old supplements, and I had similar to Courtney, a schedule of supplements that was just consuming my life. We have that story. You have that story, is my point. It just might not sound like mine. It might not sound like yours, and it might take a little while to flesh it out, but it's there, right? And so I just wanted to say that because
Jamie, can I jump in just for 1 second? Because there's some questions in the chat. I think maybe it's easier just to answer them here. So I think we're very, I think sometimes coming from a reactive place of I'm struggling with something and this is how I'm going to share it might be how our brain naturally does things. But the question was, how do I share this when I don't necessarily know what my story is, or if there's a struggle per se? But this is for your overall wellness. This is for prevention. This is health. This is longevity. This is your life, right? My children don't necessarily have any negative stories per se with endocrine disrupting that I can presently see, but I'm trying to prevent that from becoming their reality. So we get to talk about these products in a very proactive way versus reactive way too. Now, some of us do have stories where we hit a breaking point and then we needed to scale back and make changes. But in an ideal world, we're getting out in front of this conversation and helping people to establish, healthy routines and healthy homes before needing to actually have a reactive prevention, right? So I think some, like Jamie was saying, sometimes it's just some framework. And there's a lot of different ways that, yes, absolutely, you can talk about this. It doesn't even have to just be wrapped around health and wellness. I think for a lot of us, that's a very organic, natural conversation because it's one we've been having for a long time, right? But also weaving in just some education pieces around why is this a trending topic? Why is this such a hot topic, right? How do we keep our children fertile per se, right? I don't want them to go through the struggles that maybe I did. And also looking at, I was actually having a conversation yesterday with somebody because I think a lot, my market is in their 40s, their late 30s, their 40s, right? So how we feel is going to be different than somebody in their 20s. And so they're not going to probably share the products from the lens of hair is brittle and my skin is dry and I'm in perimenopause. They're going to share it from a child rearing space, right? So their market is going to be different. So they have to find their voice there. So there is some it is a little bit of a mindset shift, right? Because I think sometimes, like if coming from the Beachbody space too, I think we're used to sharing it from a reactive place. Like I'm intervening, I'm stepping in with this, but like we get to be on the prevention side of things too.
Perfect. That's a great lead in. So I used ChatGPT earlier to make a really nice comprehensive list of if we're taking a step away from the hormone health necessarily like focus of solutions, let's look at it from another angle. And this is all in the Google Drive, so I'll make sure you know where this is at. But this is just a list of known illnesses and diseases that are linked to toxins in products, right? I need to format this differently, but infertility, endometriosis, PCOS, miscarriages, early puberty, reduced sperm count, breast cancer, prostate cancer, reduced like low libido, thyroid disorders, developmental disorders, metabolic and endocrine disorders. The list goes on and on, cancer and on. Looking at something like acne and eczema, dermatitis, raise your hand if any of these things are something that has impacted you or your immediate family or someone you love, right? Like there's a story in there. Now that doesn't mean you go and say, I'm going to have the cure for PCOS or I have the cure for cancer. Like that's not what I'm saying, but I'm saying we are all experiencing this. I don't think any of us are immune from being impacted by toxins in our products, by being greenwashed, by as consumers, by like, you know, over exercising, undernourishing ourselves and no dysfunction, whatever it is, it's there. And so just know that that's there. I'm going to go back to the slides and finish, but I wanted to kind of like pause and take a breath for a minute. Because this is hopefully it's getting your wheels spinning and excited. Because really there's the sky is the limit here and you get a fresh start to kind of go. I look at this as like we get to elevate our conversation around wellness and health. Like this is now the umbrella that all the other things fall under. I still love nutrition. I still love fitness, but I love being healthy a lot more. And I love having options and flexibility in how I can approach this with people a lot more. So some questions to ask yourself as you're kind of like teasing out this story. What physical or emotional symptoms am I experiencing that could be connected to my hormones? So like start tracking how you're feeling. Start asking yourself these questions. How do I feel when I wake up and go to bed? Is my sleep quality affecting my mood or energy levels? My attraction marketing in terms of our products this last year, I get the most engagement and interest when I talk about my energy levels and having energy back. That is something I know the pain, like I know that my target audience, the other women in their mid-40s that I've been working with for 11 years are feeling that pain too. What lifestyle factors could be influencing my hormone balance? Stress, diet, sleep, products I use. So what are those everyday choices and like that have gotten you here? And how are making different choices changing that for you? What are the most common hormone related issues I've heard about, and do any of them apply? So go through that list, that list I even talked about. See if you can start seeing that connective tissue. That's not just a random list of illnesses and diseases. Those are known connective issues. Like those are known to be linked to EDCs, like endocrine disrupting products. And endocrine disruption. Okay, what small changes can I make right now to start supporting my hormone health? And so you start figuring out that story. And then I think it's really important to continue to go back to your target customer, your ideal client. And again, we're not being prescriptive, but we know that these are things that a lot of us are feeling. What are the things on this list? Put them in the chat if any of these things stick out to you as something I spelled caffeine wrong, don't judge me. If any of these things are something you struggle with, put it in the chat. That's just what pops out, because this is not even a comprehensive list. Yes, yes. So I put these things specifically because I know for a fact that our team has experienced help in these specific areas using our products. Now, if like I have migraines, Jenny has migraines, a lot of people have migraines. What helps her isn't going to help me because it's not a bio-individual thing, but it is something that I've seen a dramatic decrease by giving myself the baseline support and the baseline help. Okay. So these are I pulled these out because specifically I know stories of at least 20, 30 different advocates on our team that have said that they or myself have felt an improvement in these areas. Okay. And this is where you start to identify this for yourself. So this is in the Google Drive and I'll show you where it's at, but I made this kind of like punch card, I called it, for you to start tracking your own product use. Because like, again, this is going to be your story. Your story is going to be what connects people here. So this is kind of small, I know, but this is every single product we have. And I want you, like, one at a time. Like, doesn't mean you have to buy everything in the catalog. Like, switch it up. Maybe focus on one vertical at a time. Maybe focus on one product at a time. And then notice what you're noticing change as you use it after a week, after a month, after 3 months. And then share that story. Let that be your testimony. Okay. And then I made these Mad Libs just to help us find the words, because sometimes we're not even recognizing that things are changing. We're not here to share, but we're not in the before and after world anymore, right? Like, we're not, like, our products are not going to have that snapshot moment in time to compare necessarily. Like hair, yeah, collagen, sure, sometimes skin, maybe bloating, but not as tangibly as we have maybe become accustomed to. And I also just don't want to ever do that again personally. And that's just me. But like, let's tease out what that story is, right? And so again, like, you don't have to screenshot this. This is a living document for you in the Google Drive, but I wanted to make sure you knew it was here. So yes, okay. That is time. I'm going to end it there, but I am going to show you where this lives. It's in the team Google Drive, which is pinned at the top of the team page, and it is in, hold on, I'll show you. So I'm going to share my screen. So the team Google Drive is very robust. In the getting started folder, which is the very first one, is really the only thing you ever need to worry about for a while, but this product checklist is right here. So where I put that signs of, I also have a document that I've been building that's the signs of hormone dysfunction and imbalance. Take a look at this too. Start to try to tease out, like, am I feeling, oh my gosh, I am feeling this. I do wake up in the middle of the night. Oh, my husband does have low sperm count, whatever it is, right? Just notice these things, like, because a lot of times, like, and maybe these are things to start working with a functional medicine doctor, start digging deep, do a Dutch test or learn more. But I think this is just to be aware that, like, I think we all, it's safe to say, we probably all have something going on, whether it's the front bowling pin or back bowling pin, it's there, but this is all lives in this, this drive here. And then the Mad Libs are here, and it's all there for you. So, oops, that's not what I want. And then this is here for you too. So I want you to know that that's there. And then this is the list of the toxin triggered diseases and illnesses. So I'll reformat that. So hopefully this was helpful. You're welcome for being so organized. I am not naturally, God did not make me this way. He made me very ADHD. So this has become like a coping mechanism to actually be able to be successful. So thank you for recognizing that. I need to remove my spotlight, and I'm going to stop. There it is. Why don't we take, if you need to go, you need to go. No worries. I know Court has a lunch date, so go, Court, have fun. And Jenny, I know you have to go too. Do you have any time left? You had
Yeah, I pushed my podcast back 10 minutes.
Okay.
I got a
We've
minute.
got 10 minutes for Q&A with Jenny. Go. This is the time to pick her brain. She knows she knows so much.
Well, I don't want to, like, this is a shameless plug, and I really don't care as much as I do just about helping people understand hormone health. I have a free resource in my podcast. So if you're wanting to learn more about, like, the four-legged chair, the fundamentals of hormone balance, I even have episodes on triple boost. I have episodes on hydrate detox. Like, I have deeper dives myself on the podcast. It's called Sync Your Life, SYNC, or you can search my name. Jamie's been on there. Sarah and Ben. Yeah, the perimenopause thing was what I was hoping to touch on briefly. So when it comes to perimenopause, let's first identify what that is. So a lot of people will say like, oh, I've been in menopause for 3 years, or I've been having symptoms for 5 years. And in reality, menopause is a birthday. So menopause is a birthday that is 366 days from your last period. The average age of menopause right now in the US is 51. And so when you've gone a year without a menstrual period, then you're technically in menopause, right? So really it's just menopause, post-menopause, and everything leading up to that is considered perimenopause. So it can last 10, 12 years before you officially hit menopause. And what happens in that decade is a slow hormone decline. So progesterone is actually the first hormone to decline. And that's why a lot of women will start to complain about things like anxiety attacks happening all of a sudden. Like I hear often, like I hit 40 and things changed, like my body composition changed. All the things I used to be doing wasn't working anymore. I started having anxiety attacks, brain fog, trouble sleeping. This is usually correlated to the decline in progesterone. Progesterone is your female fertility hormone. It's what protects a pregnancy in the uterine lining. But it's also a steroid hormone. A lot of people don't realize progesterone plays multiple roles. And when it is starting to decline, we can start to see those types of symptoms exist. The reason for that is because estrogen doesn't decline until the end of perimenopause. So as you kind of get more to the cease of your periods, that's when we start to see estrogen take a drastic drop in the last couple of years before menopause. So estrogen for that decade kind of rides here while progesterone falls. And then at the very end, toward menopause, they both fall, right? I just used my hands in case you couldn't see me. So that gap that is created between the two is what you might have heard to referred as estrogen dominance. And estrogen dominance is a very real thing. When that ratio of progesterone to estrogen is off, that's when those symptoms can arise. That's when things can get crazy. So what do most women do in perimenopause? They say, okay, I hit 40, things are changing. My body composition's wacky. I've got weight gain in my hips and thighs and my belly. I must need to do what I was doing in my 20s and 30s in order to make this work. And so they start to work out harder. They start to eat less. Unfortunately, they go to their doctor and their doctor says, maybe you should try cutting back on the carbs or try some HIIT training, or even worse, they say, try fasting, which I don't have enough time for today to go on about. But when this becomes the messaging, right, this is what I call diet culture messaging, where we work out harder, we eat less, or we restrict a macronutrient or whatever. If you think about it, most people don't realize this. In perimenopause, when progesterone starts to decline, does anyone know what that's from? It's because your ovaries are finally like, it's been real, it's been fun, but we're done here. Like, I like to think of it as like a cruise ship departing the dock, right? Like if you've ever been on a cruise ship, you're like, why is it taking so long for us to leave? I've been toasting my partner now for 8 hours and we're still departing the dock. That's perimenopause. Your ovaries are like, we're just giving you a little bit of a warning. It's going to be a while, like 8 more years of this, but like we're slowly piecing out, right? Well, progesterone declines, estrogen declines, but here's my question for you. Once you hit menopause as a woman, do you still have sex hormones? The answer is yes, right? A lot of people will be like, oh, I wish I'd have known this before menopause. Well, you still need to know this post-menopause. You still have sex hormones. So my question for you is, if your ovaries are no longer producing those sex hormones, what is? The answer is your adrenal glands. So if you remember back to the four-legged chair, the cortisol is queen. Cortisol is produced in those adrenal glands. Cortisol is your stress response. These little tiny adrenal glands sitting above your kidneys are now taking the baton, so to speak, from the ovaries, and they're now releasing sex hormones. So if you think about it, right, like these little ovaries, these little adrenal glands are already stressed because they're keeping you alive. And now in perimenopause, they've just been handed the baton to also produce sex hormones. So it causes our body to go through, that's why I referenced it earlier as this period of stress, even whether we like it or not, is a period of stress in transition in our life. And when most women start to go against their physiology, they start to work out harder and eat less. They're causing their body to go into survival mode. They're causing their body to really be like, holy crap, freak out, cortisol, right? And when that happens, what does your body do? As I said before, it prioritizes survival over everything else. So it holds on to your belly fat. It holds on to your hips and thighs. It holds on to all the weight because it's trying to keep you alive. So when we as women can embrace this as a transition, as a second puberty, so to speak, and we can say, okay, I'm going to actually try to work smarter. I'm going to downregulate my nervous system, right? I'm going to really focus on the type of exercise that my body needs instead of just pushing and all the cardio. When we can fuel enough, when we can start to sort of support those fundamentals we talked about, the body will respond. So perimenopause is a much deeper topic, but I think seeing it as the transition that it is, and when your sex hormones transition from ovaries to adrenals and the impact that that has on our cortisol, which has downstream effects to the rest of the four-legged chair, helps you understand that better.
Who feels like this like becomes like an aha moment for them, or with their customers and clients that have been this like struggling, right? I feel like all of a sudden me and my clients all hit the same season of life and I'm like, not like it was moving backwards. So it was really like, oh, this makes sense. Like, and it helps kind of give us a place to start. And I think we were all very well trained to like tell our story and to share and to add value. Like, if something like tugs at you and inspires you in any of this conversation, like explore it and share it and find the people that are like, yeah, me too. That speaks to me. Let's wrap up, Jenny, but do you want to talk Allie asked a great question about the routine as a whole.
Oh, okay. The routine is a very popular product. If someone came to you and wants a recommendation of what to start with, yeah, I've been recommending the routine with Triple Boost. I mean, Triple Boost is definitely probably like my number one product that I'm leading with right now. Just because of all the reasons I said before, most women are under eating protein. My personal feeling is, I mean, the collagen is great. I love the collagen, especially if people are already using a collagen. Ours is a much better swap because you get the 3 types. But I think from a foundationally nutritional perspective, collagen is also not as critical as protein. So if I had to pick, I would say the Triple Boost for sure.
And I think the AM supplement for me has been like the most significant shit. It like I had that long list of supplements and have been able to, I still have to take several that are specific for my adrenals and my anemia, but the AM supplement has made a huge impact. So like Triple Boost and AM would be, and we are going to have a routine option that is Hydrate Detox Triple Boost AM supplement. And that'll be soon available. I don't know when, but that's something we've asked for in terms of like having multiple combinations of those things. And then one that's also with the collagen as well. It is a 20-day serving. Yeah, it's a 20-day supply. So like 5 days a week, which most people are not drinking something 7 days a week anyway. So it keeps it so that they don't stockpile a lot of stuff. Okay. Jenny, do you want to share, well, you mentioned, so Jenny's mentioned her podcast. It's Sync, SYNC. It's amazing. It's a really great resource. She also has a course and a fitness program, and that's designed to cycle sync, like a fitness program that Kelsey, what's Kelsey's last name?
Kelsey Linsman. Yeah.
So Kelsey created a 28-day fitness program that's designed to go with your cycle, to cycle sync in terms of fitness. And then she's a really great course, which, like I mentioned a minute ago, where it really helped me pull my life together last spring when I felt like I was just drowning in struggles and questions and no solutions. Because anytime I would go to the doctor, they were like, just go back on birth control. That'll help your symptoms. And I'm like, that's why I went off birth control, so I could figure out what was going on, So really helping people be a really great advocate too for themselves. And so, but we will be talking more about on Monday night, the 28th, 8 p.m. East Coast time, our Hormone Harmony event this month we're kind of going back to our first one ever we did last fall, because we do these monthly and sometimes twice a month, but we talked about basic hormone health 101 and the routine. So we're going to dig deep into the routine and hormone health 101. Some of the stuff you'll hear today, but this would be a great place if you've like you're like, I wish my customers would hear this. I wish my team could hear this. I wish I could hear this again. We will do that Monday night. So thank you all. Have a good rest of your day.
Bye-bye.